He found her on a morning when the sky looked bruised, the kind of dawn that felt more like an ending than a beginning. The wind crawled low over the sand, whispering secrets it shouldn't know. Calder Hayes had seen strange things out here in the Arizona Badlands. But what he found that day would dig its claws into him deeper than any ghost or gunfight ever could. Before we begin this journey, take a breath. Stories like this one, they don't come easy. They take a piece out of you. So before we step into the dust and the blood, subscribe, and stay with me till the end. Because what you're about to hear might just change the way you see mercy itself. Calder lived alone for 12 years on a forgotten ranch tucked between dead mesquite and dry riverbeds. The walls creaked when the wind turned mean, and the roof leaked when it remembered rain. He didn't mind. Solitude had become his last honest friend. The cattle were gone, the land half dead, and he didn't expect anything good to come riding out of the desert anymore. Then she came. Not riding, not walking, crawling out of the haze like something torn from both heaven and hell. Barefoot, trembling, wrapped in a strip of off-white cloth that barely clung to her shoulders. Her name, he'd learn later, was Mara Lee, but that morning she was just a shape of suffering moving slow through the dust. He thought she might be a spirit, the kind old-timers warn about, the ones that trick lonely men into graves. But when she collapsed at his boots, he knew she was flesh and bone. Her breathing was thin, broken, like she'd been running through the teeth of hell. He lifted her in his arms, light as smoke, and carried her toward the ranch house, each step feeling like he was walking deeper into something he couldn't name. Inside, the air smelled of dust and forgotten coffee. He laid her on the old cot, covered her with a wool blanket, and lit a fire that stuttered like an old heartbeat. The flame threw gold light across her face, and for the first time he saw her clearly. The dirt, the fear, the faint shimmer of tears cutting through it. She wasn't just broken. She was carved hollow. When she woke, her voice was a whisper. Don't take the cloth off. He didn't argue. Didn't ask why. Some words don't need answers. They just hang in the air like smoke from a dying flame. Days turned into rhythm. The wind outside, the creak of the boards, the slow return of life to her eyes. She ate little, slept less. Sometimes, in the middle of the night, Calder heard her whispering to someone who wasn't there. Apologies. Please. Promises. He told himself not to care. But the way she stared at the horizon each morning, as if expecting something terrible to crawl out of it, it wouldn't leave him alone. Then came the night the wind died. No crickets. No coyotes. Just silence, holding its breath. A shadow moved past a window. Tall, slow, deliberate. Calder reached for his shotgun. Outside, a voice called her name. Calm, drawling, wrong in a way that made his stomach twist. Said she had something that didn't belong to her. Said if she gave it back, there wouldn't be trouble. He didn't open the door. The voice waited, then left, boots fading into the dark. By morning, the air was heavy with storm. Mara sat on the porch, staring into the distance. That's when he saw it. The edge of the cloth had slipped near her neck. Underneath, ink burned deep into the skin, lines that curved into shapes no man should recognize. He looked away, but the image stuck, black, deliberate, alive. By dusk, thunder rolled across the hills. Lightning split the sky. Rain turned the dust to mud. Then came the scream, sharp, desperate. Calder ran to her room. She was on the floor, clutching that cloth like it was being ripped away by invisible hands. The air buzzed, charged, alive with something ancient and wrong. She looked at him, eyes wild with terror, and begged, "Don't take the cloth off." But the moment she said it, the fabric slipped, and what he saw beneath didn't belong to this earth. Her back was burned with symbols, black and seared, forming a circle that pulsed in the firelight. At the center, a mark shaped like a handprint, not human, too long, too narrow, the grip of something that didn't let go easy. The fire dimmed. The room went still. Then the whisper came, not from her, not from him, but from the mark itself. Words in a tongue he'd never heard, but somehow understood. You took her burden. Pain shot through his hand like molten metal. He looked down, skin burning, reshaping. The same black mark appearing, smaller, but alive. The fire roared behind him. Shadows danced like demons. Mara fell silent, her body limp. The marks on her back had faded, gone pale and empty, as if whatever was bound there had moved on. Into him. He sat there all night. The storm raged, but he didn't move. He felt the mark pulse with a heartbeat that wasn't his. By morning, the desert smelled clean again, like something had been washed away. When she woke, she looked at him, then at his hand. No words. No tears. She stood, wrapped herself in a fresh blanket, and stepped outside. The sun rose gold over the hills. She said she had to keep moving, that what was taken from her had a way of finding new places to hide. He didn't stop her. He just watched her walk until the dust swallowed her whole. That was 3 weeks ago. The ranch is quiet again, but not empty. Calder still feels a mark hum when the wind shifts west. Sometimes, he swears, he can hear her voice in the silence, a whisper telling him not to let the cloth touch the ground. He's seen death, drought, war, loss, but none that felt as real as that night. None that left him with the kind of knowing that keeps you awake long after the fire's gone out. Now he waits, keeps the cabin clean, the fire ready, the door unlocked, because some burdens don't die easy. Some just change hands. And deep down, Calder Hayes knows, one day, someone else will crawl out of that same desert, clutching another curse cloth, begging not to be touched. And when that day comes, he'll help, because once you've seen what hides beneath Mercy's skin, you can't turn away again. If you've made it this far, maybe you're a bit like Calder. Maybe you've carried something you didn't ask for, something heavy that burned itself into your soul. If that's true, don't walk away from this story. Share it. Let it sit with you a while. And if you want to hear more tales like this, the real ones, the rough ones, go ahead and subscribe. Because out here in the West, stories don't end. They just keep writing.